Hi, this is Mr. West, and today I'm doing a video tutorial on adding and subtracting linear expressions. This, of course, is from mathdrills.com. Make sure to check out mathdrills.com in the link in the description below. They have amazing resources, so don't forget to check them out. I want to start with an example. So if we're going to be adding these expressions, and expressions, you'll note, do not have an equal sign. So none of these have an equal sign. We're going to start with understanding how do we combine or simplify these expressions. What we need to decide first is how do we determine what are like terms? You'll hear that a lot, and really what that means is it has to be an expression with the same variable raised to the same degree. That's kind of a lot for what this exercise is about. So once you get into higher algebra, you'll see that it makes a big difference, the degree. But for this purpose, for this worksheet's purpose, we just need to worry about like terms in terms of having the same variable or having just the number. And let me explain. So if we're looking at these, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different terms, we'll see that x here, there's an x here, and there's an x over here. These two are like terms because they both have an x, and we could combine them. So if we had x plus that 5x, we could have 6x. Now let's take a look at another example. Let me just change the highlighter color here. If we have the 2 and, ooh, way too dark. If we have the 2 and the -6, those are like terms because they're both numbers without a variable. So they can be combined, just like you could with integers. You can add and subtract them. These can be combined, so we could do 2 plus a -6. I just like to write it as 2 minus 6. It's the same result, you get -4. So we could combine those ones. The -3y, there's nothing else to combine it with, so that would stay by itself. So if we were to find the sum of these terms all together, the answer would be, let's see here, 6x minus 3y minus 4. And that would be our answer if we were to combine all of those together, okay? So those are like terms. I just wanted to give that example. We can jump into our problems now. We're going to start with number 1. So number 1, now we have like another wrinkle, which is we have these parentheses here, 2 sets of expressions, and we have these parentheses. This minus sign really kind of complicates things. And how does it do that? Well, because there's a minus sign in front, we need to distribute that minus to both these terms. It's kind of like two different ways to think about it. One, minus, because it's minus, you have to subtract both these things inside. Another way to think of it is there's a -1 in front of this parenthesis, and just like the distributive property, if you have like something like this, you distribute the 3 to both those terms, you have to distribute the -1 to both terms inside and then add normally. Okay, so that's two different ways to think about it. I'm guessing most of you just want to subtract both things inside. So essentially what I can do here is I can just write -6p minus 8. There's nothing to do inside the parentheses. These are not like terms, so I can't combine them. So I can get rid of the parenthesis, and there's nothing being multiplied out in front. Here I distribute the minus sign, I had -2p. The minus and the -6, I'm going to make it the opposite, so it becomes +6. And now I can think about how do I combine like terms. So this is a better color. However, one thing I like to do, like if you have your pencil, you can't change colors like me. One thing I like to do is I like to underline terms that are like. So 2 for the p's, for the variables, and maybe I'll do a squiggly for the numbers. And that makes it a little bit more clear what I need to combine. Now, as I simplify further, I just concentrate on the p's first, -6p and -2p. That gives me -8p in total. And then -8 plus 6, well, that equals -2. And that's my answer. That's my simplified expression after I do that distribution of the negative sign. Number 2 is actually an easier problem. Let me move this up, actually. There we go. So number 2 is easier because it doesn't have that negative sign in front. We notice here that there's nothing to combine there. There's nothing to combine there. Okay, so we can get rid of the parentheses. We can just make it -8r minus 2 plus 4r minus 3. As we can see here, we have like terms with the variables. So the variables have like terms, and then the numbers are also like terms. So there's my number, and I'm ready to go. So I have -8r plus 4r. I have -4r there, and then -2 minus 3, or -2 combined with the -3, and that gives me -5. Now, if you're struggling like Probably the trickiest part with this is understanding how to combine the different integers. So negatives with positives, negatives with negatives. If you're stuck on that, make sure to check out one of my Math Drills videos where I talk about adding integers, both positive and negative. I hope that clears it up. But if you have any questions on that, make sure to leave a comment, okay? But my understanding is if you're watching this, you already have that foundation. Again, here's another example where we have a negative. I'm going to probably concentrate on those. These are definitely tougher. I need to first distribute that negative to both these terms. So I have negative 6z, and then negative 5 makes it a positive 5. So I have negative z minus 8, and then I need to look for like terms here. So I have the z's are going to be like. I'm going to start with that. That's negative because they're both negative. This is really 1z, not just like not counting for anything. That's a common mistake I see. So that's negative 7z. Okay, so that's my first answer. And then I have a negative 8 plus 5. The negative is bigger number, and it's going to win by 3. So negative 7z minus 3, and that is going to be my answer. Let me do one more quickly for you. I'm going to change color. I'm getting bored of the green. All right, so here we go. Here's one. I'm going to distribute this negative. This is number 5. This becomes positive 8s, and then it becomes a minus 4. So negative 7s plus 4. The negative 7 and the 8s are going to combine for just s, or 1s. And then 4 plus the negative 4, that gives me 0. So really, I can just write s as my answer. That's a little confusing, but that's what it is. That's all I have for this video. If you have any other suggestions on questions for this worksheet, or if you need extra help for understanding integers, please let me know in a comment or search my channel for that. Either way, I look forward to seeing you next time right here on Wes Explains Best.